I just was just disbelief, just kind of the way it felt very hostile, even after watching the interview and watching the post when he arrives and about the choice of clothing. I thought it was just very much set up. It felt like it was done to almost embarrass him, which I thought was very unfair. I don't think anyone should be treated like that. It's very kind of bullyish behaviour.
When I turned on the TV last night, I found it absolutely disgraceful that two leaders of democratic countries are acting that way. Those are things that should be behind closed doors. It's very clear to me that Trump wants to rule the world, and he was upset because the deal we'd done for minerals wasn't going to happen, and he wasn't ready to give a ceasefire. And like everyone else, we've all let Ukraine down. We should support Ukraine in their war against Russia.
What happened last night in the news is just like so disappointing and so confusing. I just can't believe that in 21st century it could happen when one president attacks another one, and it's supposed to be sort of communication, and so basically they invited our President Zelensky to have negotiations, but it wasn't negotiations, it was just attack, and they forced him to sign this agreement, and it seems unfair for our country, for our people who died, and for future generations. So we basically just now have to do whatever other country, third country, who doesn't have any impact on the situation, and I'm very confused, and I feel sorry about Zelensky. He's a great guy, and he is doing the best for our country. So the best support. Slava Ukraini. And how do you feel about it? I'm very scared about the future because I know our problems. I just came back from Ukraine just 2 weeks ago, so I know the lack of people. I know about situation with electricity, with and other problems. But during the war, what would you expect to happen? And I really would like to say that, of course, we all would like to finish the war as soon as possible, but not at the expenses of just like half territory of Ukraine.
Can a deal be salvaged, President Zelensky? What's your message to the US President? Can a deal be salvaged, President Zelensky? What is your message to Donald Trump? What's your message to Donald Trump, President Zelensky? Sir Keir, can you help broker a deal?
Very, very welcome here in Downing Street. As you heard from the cheers on the street outside, you have full backing across the United Kingdom. And we stand with you, with Ukraine, for as long as it may take. And I hope you've heard some of that cheering in the street. That is the people of the United Kingdom coming out to demonstrate how much they support you, how much they support Ukraine, and our absolute determination to stand with you, unwavering determination, and to achieve what we both want to achieve, which is a lasting peace for Ukraine based on sovereignty and security for Ukraine. So important for Ukraine, so important for Europe, and so important for the United Kingdom. So I'm much looking forward to our discussions here this afternoon. Thank you very much for making the time to come.
With pleasure. Thank you very much, Keir, Mr. Prime Minister, having me here. And really, I saw a lot of people, and I want to thank you, people of the United Kingdom, such big support from the very beginning of this war. Thank you, your team. And I'm very happy that His Majesty the King accepted my meeting tomorrow, and I'm thankful that you organized such great summit for tomorrow. And we are very happy in Ukraine that we have such strategic partners. We signed with you historic documents.
100-year agreement.
Yeah, we have only with you such documents with the United Kingdom. So we are happy, and we count on your support. And really, we're really happy that we have such partners and such friends.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Media.
The people of Ukraine are fighting not just for their own national sovereignty. They are fighting for the international rule of law. Australia has committed some $1.5 billion to help Ukraine defend itself. More than $1.3 billion of that is military support. We will continue to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes, because this is the struggle of a democratic nation versus an authoritarian regime led by Vladimir Putin, who clearly has imperialistic designs not just on Ukraine, but throughout that region. Well, we of course want to see peace in Ukraine, and that's what the Ukrainian people want as well. But I tell you how you get peace in Ukraine really quickly, which is to Russia stopping its illegal and immoral invasion, and Russia stopping the attacks on civilians, on civil infrastructure, engaging in this act of aggression that they have engaged in now for 3 years, and of course in the past, in the very recent past as well, the attack that they had on Crimea. I am responsible for Australia's foreign policy. Australia's foreign policy is determined by Australia, and we stand unequivocally with Ukraine in their struggle, because we regard that as a struggle for the upholding of international law. The people of Ukraine have suffered greatly in defence of their nation and their national sovereignty, and Russia has acted like a bully, a big country seeking to invade and to take over territory from another sovereign nation, in this case Ukraine. And like the rest of overwhelmingly countries around the world, we have stood with Ukraine, and we will continue to do so. Thanks very much. Thanks.
I think that means that Ukraine has to be ready to rely more on its own resources. And it also means that there is a dangerous link between revisionists in Moscow and revisionists in Washington, D.C. And unwillingness to side with Ukraine has been expressed quite loudly. Well, it's a good question whether this was a trap that was laid out, or whether this happened just because, naturally occurring events. But in any case, what we see that there is a values rift between where Ukraine stands and where the United States government stands at the moment. What we see is that there's the difference in stance that is probably too big to cover. And because that difference is there, this is an alarm going off for the Europeans to actually side with Ukraine and to rethink the European Union, not only in terms of prosperity, but also in terms of security. To answer this question, we have to actually understand whether something that happened was an accident or was it irritation because Ukrainians show agency. And a lot of Ukrainians would probably think that this was the latter. Ukrainian agency actually has been an irritating factor for those who viewed Ukraine through colonial lens. And the unfortunate situation is that the United States has joined the club of those who did it. We've been in situations of many false predictions as to what's going to happen with Ukraine if there will be no or little Western support. And usually the error was on the more pessimistic scenarios. So Ukraine would usually overperform. Does that mean that Ukraine will overperform in the future? Not necessarily. But as a rule of thumb, I would say that Ukraine is usually more resilient than it looks from the outside. I think any drastic change in conditions when we have martial law would not strengthen the Ukrainian governance but would weaken it. So Zelensky may be offering a noble gesture, but he also has proven that he actually cares about Ukraine being protected. The best thing we can do for the change of government in Ukraine is to end this war in a just and sustainable peace so Ukraine can resume the democratic procedures that have been interrupted by the war.